Hey everybody, welcome back to MSP Confidential. I'm your host, Luis Giraldo from ScalePad, and today I have a wonderful guest, Dor Eisner from Guardz. Dor, thank you so much for jumping on this conversation. I believe you're about 3 hours ahead of me, so hopefully not too late in the day for you, but thanks for coming on and hanging out.
Thank you, Luis. Thank you for having me. Very excited to have this conversation with you.
Awesome, awesome. Well, let's jump right in. I think we'll learn a little bit more about you as we go through some of this conversation, and I invite anybody that's coming in live today to jump in with some questions in the chat. I think it'd be interesting to get your take as we kind of explore some of these topics. And the topic I kind of set for today's conversation is this idea of operationalizing success in the AI era. And maybe the question that I'll ask, everything has been kind of consumed by AI conversations lately. Um, but your specific experience is obviously in cybersecurity. And I'm curious what people in your realm of cybersecurity are talking about in terms of transformation. Like, how is AI going to transform this whole cybersecurity landscape, either now and in the next few years with this rapid pace of change?
Yes, I think, I'm talking with, hundreds of MSPs every month. We have, customers, prospects all around. And, I think that, AI is going to be a force multiplier for MSPs and for the business in general. And MSPs that are, embracing AI as we speak, they will be the MSPs that will enable scale and will future growth in a better way, like lean MSPs today. You don't need to have a big team. You can actually scale and deploy your IT security services all around in a much better way. So AI is definitely a game changer for the industry and for the market in general.
Now, I think there is maybe that introduces a bit of like, is there enough competence being built around AI for an MSP that is maybe just bringing on sort of an AI driven tool or some AI driven something that's solving a problem? Do you see or foreshadow a concern with maybe less education coming into the MSP ecosystem and just kind of point and click solutions that are solving a lot of these things at a much deeper level without the knowledge baseline, so to speak?
I agree with you. I think that knowledge is definitely missing because it's new. It's new for everyone, and obviously technology vendors and like engineers and can evolve better, in this space. But it's in general, I think that we should learn about it as an industry, as a market. We should learn, the capabilities of AI and start to build confidence. This is the most important thing. Like don't think that AI is going to replace you. Think about how AI
Yeah.
is going to to make you 10x better.
Now, there's a famous saying going around on LinkedIn, and it's like two concentric circles. One is a smaller competence circle, and a much bigger one is a confidence circle. And the example is given in the context of a plumber. Do you want your plumber to be competent, or do you want them to be confident? And I wonder if maybe we're going to create a similar problem with AI of MSPs, perhaps feeling really confident about AI, but not really having the necessary competence to build solutions, build integrations, and certainly in the cybersecurity space, um, you know, paint themselves into a corner where the AI is doing things that they need to rely entirely on third parties, for example, to help solve. I'm curious your thoughts there.
Yeah, you touched about a lot of things, but you touched about cybersecurity, and I think that cybersecurity and AI, we need to understand as, as the defenders, as the good guys, that the bad guys are capitalizing on, on the capabilities of AI at scale. Like I'm doing cybersecurity for more than 20 years, and my background is coming from threat intelligence. I did like threat intelligence for the Israel intelligence forces like more
Mhm.
than 20 years ago. And we started to monitor the dark web when the dark web just started, to run, like it was 15 years ago. So, and the dark web back in the days was about, groups that are talking about, how to attack, businesses, but it was a different motion than what you see today. Today, you see attackers are actually democratizing their tools in a velocity that we never seen before, and this AI evolution is actually fueling this evolution of attack as a service, and these kind of tools like the phishing tool as a service, the fraud tool as a service, the malware tool as a service, you name it, they are actually going after the small businesses. They are going after the customers of the clients of the MSPs. And if the bad guys are using AI in such velocity, such execution, we need to think about, our cybersecurity practice as an MSP and how we should fight, the future of cybersecurity, the future of threats, and protect our clients. So
Yeah. Help me understand maybe from a defender perspective, the various layers at which AI is starting to make an impact from a defense perspective. Because obviously, uh, threat rule analysis is one area, for example. But I personally maybe don't understand all the various levels at which AI is potentially giving defenders a leg up in this new age. And so, tell me a bit about those various layers.
AI is a game changer for the defenders because up until now, most of the cybersecurity stack of a traditional MSP was about, few point solutions that are coming together, a few dashboards, protecting the email, protecting the endpoint, protecting the identity, protecting, I don't know, the data, the awareness, whatever, building, whatever in the stack. But the challenge is, and the challenge was, and the challenge is still exists, how to see the big picture and how to connect the dots. And I think that vendors, traditionally try to do it with theme, or log aggregation or this
Mhm.
kind of things. But now in the age of AI, there is a much better way to do it, to connect the dots and to triage and to to clean all the noise that we are seeing from all the different detections, all the different tools, and just help MSPs to focus on what really matters, on the incident, like on the real stuff that is actually going to be a threat against the business.
Yeah.
And so to summarize it, I think that AI is going to change the landscape of, connecting the dots and the future of cybersecurity in general. And, like the big guys, the Palo Altos of the world are talking about it, for the enterprise market for about a year or two, that consolidation and unified approach is the future of cybersecurity. But consolidation is the foundation of putting AI to work for your MSP business. So that's
The the maybe public confidence in things like AI is interesting because I wonder if some of this maybe tarnishes a bit of the confidence that we have on when a tool like Guards or any other product that is very heavily leaning into AI driven X, Y or Z. It doesn't matter what the solution is. I wonder if things like the hallucination and things that AI makes up on the consumer side is creating a problem for actually getting some of these AI driven things out to market in a more successful way. And tell me about your experience there, especially with MSPs, obviously, because I feel there's a level of understanding that maybe removes some of that concern, but maybe not. And so I'm curious what conversations you're having.
Yeah, obviously you need to control AI. AI is not something that you put to work and it's just working. You need to put a lot of effort, a lot of engineering effort actually to get AI to work in a way that you want to do it properly. And the bottom line of this, all evolution is that you don't need dozens of technicians to do the work that you did like 2, 3, 5 years ago. You need maybe less force to scale and to provide security services or IT services to more customers. that's I think the business outcome of this whole evolution, because like you don't need 5, 10, 20 different technicians going after 10 different
Mm,
dashboards, trying to do the triage of each like phishing email, or like malware on the endpoint, or playing with the EDR rules, and trying to understand what the data is flying from, and and trying to correlate identities in Microsoft 365 environments. All of this stuff is changing, and I think there is a huge opportunity here for MSPs that wants to move into this future, and believe in this trajectory of AI is changing the world, AI is changing the
mm.
businesses, AI is actually improving our operations and helping us to be better MSPs down the road.
So last week, I had Mike Senka from Movila on the live stream, and one of the things he was talking about is how AI is not particularly great at dealing with graph data and correlations across multiple dimensions of data. And so I'm curious to ask you, in the cybersecurity space, what pace of advancement are we seeing in that area specifically? Because I imagine, I still hear a lot of cybersecurity vendors talking about, human powered threat intelligence and how the human layer is so important still to the whole process. How do you feel about the human component? What timeline are we on before humans maybe are made somewhat redundant in this whole process? And how are you seeing the capabilities of AI around this capabilities with graph data specifically kind of evolving to give you more power, more capability?
First of all, I don't think that in the next decade human will be redundant. I think that humans and threat hunting is a huge component within this cybersecurity landscape and service delivery all in all. It's all about the balance between automation and AI automation and human expertise. I think the balance is the right way to go. You don't need technicians, or you don't need experts to do the work that agents can do for you. And specifically about graph AI and other, like connecting the dots or correlating, between, big data environments and putting AI to work on big data environments. I think this is the biggest challenge that we are facing today. And it's still not super mature. I think that most vendors are still optimizing in a way. Also Guards, by the way, still we are not 100% AI, far from being 100% AI, but like we put AI to work, and our mean time to detect, mean time to response, mean time to correlate or to do the triage is like 3, 4x better than it was like 2 years ago. So
Mm,
so so it's getting better. It's moving very fast. By the way, it's fascinating, to build security products in this area. It's fascinating to build any technology in this time of of technology. But especially for cybersecurity, for me, seeing this market, for 20 years and being able to develop you know the foundations of AI, or based on the foundations of AI, it's super exciting. Every day I wake up in the morning, and by the way, if we talk about the business, we talked about AI in cybersecurity. AI is going into the different, components of the business all around. For example, I can give you a real life example, from Guards. Um, if you think about, our data around the go-to market. So today, when a seller is coming to a meeting with a new prospect, they don't need to start, to ask 5 different qualification questions, because we've built an AI agent that is actually scraping, this lead or this prospect, and is actually giving all the information to the
right.
seller about, the size, the location, the tools, the website, and everything. And then you don't need all the 5, 10 minutes conversation of, the asking about your business is not really relevant anymore. So think about, as an MSP, what you can do for your business delivery or your prospects. Think about, compliance automation with AI agents. You don't need to go to 5 different reports or dashboards and try to understand, how to build compliance for your clients. You can actually run an AI-driven compliance reports for your clients. You don't need to do it. You don't need to partner even with a vendor. You can just use the tools that you have today to streamline these operations and to be proactive.
Yeah, I think there is a risk inherently in getting so much information uh, through AI agents and things like this that and this comes up so much in other contexts of conversations, which is the relationship is going to suffer invariably if all we're doing is relying on agents to provide us all the information. And I think we still need to be building relationships with customers. And interestingly, I think letting them talk about their business a little bit might be a technique that's done on purpose, even if you have all the information already, just because it helps you build rapport, of course. And so, but this is an interesting challenge, I think, as we usher in so much automation, so much agentic performance behind the scenes, is like, where do we draw the line of, well, we can't just let it all be automatic? I'm curious your thoughts on this.
Yeah, it will never. I don't believe in full automation all the way. I believe that the small things that we can actually improve along the way with automation, that's the things we should do. You don't need to solve all the problems in the world with AI. We have tons of problems. There are problems that humans should be on top of them, and there are problems that are too much of repetitive, like work that AI can actually work for us and work together with us to provide better services for our clients.
Hmm. I agree. Let me shift a bit the conversation to culture, and I've been so fascinated by cybersecurity culture overall. You were, I think, part of Unit 8200, which is for a lot of people that are maybe stateside, it would be kind of the equivalent of the NSA to the U.S., right? It's an elite cybersecurity unit in the Israeli military. Help me understand a bit of why it seems that there are so many cybersecurity startups that are from Israel specifically. I find that to be very culture driven, it seems. And so, what is
Yeah,
going on over there? What kind of water
yeah.
are you drinking?
It's the water.
Yeah.
It's the only water. No, but seriously, I think that the culture in Israel is coming from the Israeli intelligence force, because this is our power as a small country, to fight against, or to protect ourselves. We are living in a complicated neighborhood, obviously. Most of our neighbors are not fans of Israel, so being able to be on top of everything that is going on around Israel is like the foundation of the intelligence forces that we have built, a few decades ago. And I think that a lot of resources are going into that, and that drives, this innovation and also the fact that in Israel you need to have like a mandatory service when you get to the age of 18. In the US, you get to the age of 18, you go to college. In Israel, you get to the age of 18, you go to a 3 years mandatory service, and a lot of talent that is coming out of these 3, 4, 5, 10 years in the intelligence forces is leveraging or his capabilities around what he can build for the industry, for the business around cybersecurity. And by the way, fun fact, more than 55% of the cybersecurity in the world is produced in Israel. It's not just startups. It's the majority of cybersecurity that you see around the world is produced in Israel. Think about companies like Palo Alto, Checkpoint, and those guys. Their R&D centers, the majority of the development is produced in Israel. So I think
Wow.
this what drives this culture, and I think it's just going to accelerate.
Yeah, it's an interesting pipeline, for lack of a better term, of talent into the cybersecurity space, which I know is something that is already a problem in North America. There's just not enough people entering the market in the space, and it's already creating challenges for people building, SOC teams or threat intelligence, threat hunting, and so on. So,
Yeah,
very very interesting. The culture, to extend maybe the conversation around the culture a little bit, and back to the AI influence. How do you find AI is changing a bit of the cybersecurity culture overall? From information sharing to just the speed of development to just internal awareness and things like that. I'm curious. Obviously, it's changing everything, but maybe be specific as much as you can as how much AI is changing the cybersecurity culture specifically.
so I think that two major areas. One is the development velocity. The foundation of AI development infrastructure is giving us, the ability to develop much faster and with better accuracy and better detection capabilities. That's one piece. And the second piece is about triage and connecting the dots. I think that the cybersecurity is all about data. If you have the right data, if you can monitor, if you can get the right data, if you can analyze the right data, then you can be on top of the bad guys. And with big data analysis, AI is very good if you give him the right way, the right guidelines, what to do with the data. So back in the days, the first evolution of SOC was, hey, you need to go and you need to look at, as an analyst or tier one analyst, you need to go and you need to look at on all those different threats detections, that coming from, I don't know, 10 different,
Mm,
tools, and you need to analyze, and you need to go one by one and to see what's going on. And then the evolution was, okay, we'll put everything in one place, like a SIEM or like a log aggregation, and then will give you the tools to run rules or to run, automation in a SIEM. But SIEM is not good enough for the future of cybersecurity because SIEM is not smart enough to actually correlate and find what user is coming and doing what, and what kind of tools is related to each user, and what kind of that. So bottom line, I think that, velocity of development and the ability to triage and to analyze, to better analyze the data. That's what helping, cybersecurity vendors to provide better cybersecurity for clients. And it's also about cost effectiveness, because if you can reduce the human resources as much as possible, and obviously keep them in the loop, but let AI work for them, it's actually helping, to reduce cost. And that's something that is very exciting for me, because I believe that cybersecurity should be best of breed for any business in the world. Even if you are a five employee dentist shop out in whatever in the States, you should have the ability to deploy cybersecurity on the same level that, I don't know, Amazon is protecting their business. And obviously the cost is an important factor in this equation.
mm. Um, Let me ask you maybe a little bit about the shift that is happening in the conversation MSPs have with their customers. There seems to be a big movement from prevent to recover, perhaps. Like the conversation is not so much about we're going to stop all the threats. Instead, it's kind of shifting to this. We're going to help you build a resilient business and recover better from the eventuality of an incident. I think most people, kind of agree that it's not a matter of if, but when at this stage. And I'm curious, like from your perspective of a vendor of a software company in the space, how much time is being spent on the recover side of the threat equation versus obviously the threat prevention and discovery side, and do we need to spend more time on the recover and resilience piece?
So I think in general, we need to shift from reactive to proactive services. This is the most important thing, because if you are reactive, you already lost a lot of, of what you can do as an MSP. And I think that incident response in general is obviously improving with tools, and obviously AI, by the way, is helping also in the incident response side of the business. But you don't want to be in this position as an MSP. You don't want to wake up in the middle of the night,
Of
Saturday
course.
night, and be on top of incident response, with legal and insurance and other stuff. So I think that, obviously we are not spending enough time today in doing proactive as an industry. I'm talking with, hundreds of MSPs. Most of the MSP industry is not investing enough in the proactive approach.
Yeah.
And this is something that we want to change, or at least we want to help change, to empower MSP to do more proactive approach than reactive approach. And the reactive, it's a big operations. You need to have, threat hunting, and you need to have like all the right, knowledge and expertise, and obviously the right tools. And it's usually when the business is being hacked or breached. These businesses are going on a list on the dark web, that these businesses are now in the blacklist of the dark web. And even if you will do like all the right investigation, you will, isolate the device, clean the network, put all the backup, in place, and clean all the identity stuff. The business that is breached is now on the list on the black market, and this business will be breached again in the foreseen
Mm.
future. So keep that in mind. So that's why it's so important to be on the proactive side than the reactive side, because even if you fix everything and you did everything right after a breach that happened, this business is in the blacklist already in terms of the bad guys.
So a lot of the to that point, I think a lot of the conversations that I hear happening, in peer group rooms and stuff like that around, building AI capabilities seem to still be a little bit stuck maybe in what I would call a VAR mentality around AI is like, how are we going to package and price AI to sell to customers? And it's not necessarily we're going to sell them this AI driven security thing because I think MSPs generally seem to be getting away from wanting to sell point security solutions and have more of a comprehensive risk mitigation approach to security conversations. And so I think in many ways they're kind of making it more difficult to have tool specific or issue specific conversations around cybersecurity as they just move to risk. And so there's still this challenge of like what's the muscle that MSPs need to be thinking about building right now to really transition into that proactive security mindset, because it does feel very reactive still, and with AI kind of jumping in and providing one click solutions, you just buy our product and you have an AI driven type of thing. I think maybe it creates a little complacency for MSPs around like what muscle they need to build. Tell me a little bit more about like how they can really drive proactivity in this context.
Yeah, I think MSP should think about operational efficiency and scalability in the age of AI. Let's start with that point. How you can actually streamline, your workflows, reducing false positive, prioritizing alert, doing more like a predictive analytics on your business and your customers. And then it will, the impact will be reducing cost to serve while improving margins. That's the first thing, because I don't think in general that MSPs will go in the foreseen future and will sell AI to their clients. I don't see it happening, in the foreseen future. I see how MSPs can actually embrace AI to provide better services at a better gross margin. That's one thing.
Mm.
And in order to do so, I think it's all about training the teams to work alongside AI rather than fear it. And also, managing customer, perception around AI. It's also something that AI won't replace your trusted MSP, but it will enhance it. It will make it better. It will make, better considerations. So
Yeah, I do think there's levels. Obviously, the cybersecurity part of that is very specific in the sense of embracing it and delivering a better security service is not something they need to figure out how to deliver or how to help their customers do better on their own. But there's obviously all the other productivity categories, all the other places where AI is kind of having an impact, from agentic integration of marketing to sales to service and delivery on whatever industry that they're in. And I feel like this is the area where MSPs will either get caught with their pants down, so to speak, in the sense that if they're not having that conversation, obviously the customer is having that conversation with somebody else, and so this is going to create pressure to be having conversations about AI, and so this is kind of the muscle, I think, the maybe generational innovation mindset that comes along with it, and so maybe tell me a little bit about the mindset piece of AI, because it's one thing to say, yeah, we're going to be more predictive because there are practical things AI helps us do with, predictive threat hunting and et cetera. But there's probably a mindset piece to just the rapid pace of change, kind of changing the whole game of innovation as it is. And I'm curious from your perspective as a company that has to embrace AI and have all this innovation driving your change, like how do you think about the mindset piece of this?
yeah, I agree with you. It's a lot about the mindset. And by the way, it's a hard shift. Like it's not easy to do this shift. We are trying as a company, as a SaaS vendor. Forget about the cybersecurity for a moment, and think about all the things related to the business. Like data-driven decisions about the business and stuff like that.
Mm.
Before the AI evolution, we would try, to do it, with traditional tools, and now, for example, I connected, like a few weeks ago, I connected AI agents into our CRM. like into our HubSpot, and now I can actually ask, very simple question, like what are our customers, in this segment are talking about or doing with the product, or, consumption, or, like success metrics and stuff like that. And this was a question that, like if you asked me 2 years ago, it was a tough question, like a lot of time you need to spend in order to get, someone to understand, your data as a business. And now you can do it in one query, with agent that is connected into your data lake, your business foundation and stuff like that. So I think it's also exciting, from running a business and changing the mindset of, the business into this AI evolution. And as an MSP, I think if you wake up in the morning and you think, I have a chaos because I have too many things on my plate and I need to do this and I need to do that and and obviously customers are knocking on the door and I need to provide them business reviews and I need to go after new customers. Think about how AI can actually help you on all the different categories in your business, and then, take the big problem into small problems and see where, automation can help you, drive better business decisions.
Yeah, I think this is where like one of those bad habits of just wanting the tool to solve for the problem is kind of the thing that creates a bit of this experimentation, failed experimentation to some extent. And this is what I mean about the muscle. Like, uh, as a small MSP that I was, I feel like we just tried to solve most of those problems by just buying a piece of software that promised to solve the problem. And then a year later, we're kind of in the same place that we were a year before, because there was really a transformational or evolution in the mindset that was required to execute on those things, or focus on the categories, or focus on the specific issues that we were just not building, because obviously the reactive nature and distractions of the typical MSP kind of prevents you from doing that. And so it's definitely an interesting thing to try and overcome. But it's becoming obviously so much more urgent because of the pace that AI is introducing all this change at. I think before we had, 5 years to deal with any one kind of market shift. Now
Yeah,
we have a week or two before the next thing is kind of already old news. And so,
yeah.
yeah, the mindset just keeps being this super information highway piece that is so important. Which kind of leads me to this topic of information sharing on the proactivity side. When we were talking a bit about the culture, I think we have things like GTIA has the ISAO, where there's a very very open information sharing with cybersecurity companies to try and stay on top of these things. And I'm curious how AI is changing a bit of the parameters of information sharing, if you will. Is our traditional way of doing information sharing just not going to cut it very, very quickly here, or already not good enough?
Yeah, it's a good point, by the way. I think this is the last piece that didn't get, the right focus yet, and I think that we will get there. I don't think that, because information sharing in cybersecurity is all managed by, by the big, organizations that are doing that, like still in the traditional way, and because AI still need a lot of, enforcement and a lot of guidelines in order to be, to be in the right shape. So it's still early days for putting AI to work in information sharing and stuff like that. So I still don't see enough development there, and hopefully we will see it as we all experiment, this evolution day in day out, and it's still not mature enough in a lot of
Mm.
areas of the business.
I wonder how much dedicated focus on information sharing is necessary. One of the things that I experience frustration around. I'm a member of a group on Signal that is a cybersecurity focused group, um, and I'm there purely out of torturous curiosity, because I don't have anything that I do in the realm of cybersecurity per se, or cybersecurity practice. But what happens, it's interesting, anytime there's a cybersecurity incident, there's like two or three messages about the actual issue, followed by hundreds of messages of just literal trolling from the cybersecurity practitioners around the issue. And so I wonder like how much the cynicism and how much of the perhaps jadedness that exists, maybe a bit of that underbelly of the cybersecurity culture is actually creating a problem to address response in in a quick and effective way. I mean, you must have come across a little bit of this in your 20 years of cybersecurity experience. Tell me a bit about your thoughts there.
Yeah, first of all, I think I agree with you. There is a chaos because everyone thinks, he knows everything about, each incident, and this is not the case. So I think that there is a chaos around, and new incidents, new threats that are evolving, and still there is some lack of, as I said, like lack of information sharing out there. And, I believe that the right approach is obviously identifying risks before they materialize. This is obviously the right approach. And I won't go into this, forums and try to understand, what's going on, because if you are doing the right things to protect your clients, you should be in a good shape. You don't need to run after, each incident because, it's unlimited. It's like the
Yeah,
amount of threats that you can see daily, weekly, it's like in the thousands. So how you can keep, your MSP business as an MSP, as a local MSP, how you can keep, going after this, millions of events that are happening. I don't think it's a good practice. I think as an MSP we should be in the mindset of let's make sure that we have the right tools, we have the right foundation, we have the right posture, and identify risk before they materialize into an incident, and keep the business secured in a proactive way.
yeah. You've kind of talked a bit about the quality of the information, the quality of data, and as I was thinking about what are maybe some of the barriers to operationalizing AI in any kind of capacity, it occurs to me that obviously the quality of data is a big piece to this. Um, and in the MSP ecosystem, Microsoft is obviously a big player, and a lot of the data signals are coming from Microsoft products. I don't know if the data quality of Microsoft, data signals is good or not good. I'm curious, as a cybersecurity person, if you wish some of the data signals were of better quality so you can act better on the actual response and stuff like that. But at the same time, like, how should an MSP be thinking of improving the data quality to be able to improve, all the steps that follow from identification of threats to actual response and incident issues? And so a lot of little embedded questions there, obviously, but
Yeah, yeah, I'll try to cover it all. But first of all, I think that the detection logic of Microsoft is great. I think that they are doing a great job, and obviously they are improving. We are all improving as an industry. I think that the time to detect is a bit lacking. I think that the logs that Microsoft generates, obviously, they are lagging behind, industry standards, and still there is a lot of room for improvement there. And but the bottom line is that Microsoft is just one piece of the puzzle. What about all the other pieces of the puzzle, like for example your endpoints, and not sometimes they are running with a different endpoint protection or a different EDR, and your data protection is running on a different tool, and your email protection is running on a third party tool. And so Microsoft is doing good job in having all the signals, but it's highly fragmented in terms of the typical MSP security stack environment, and that's the challenge that you have so many detections running in siloed operations.
mhm,
And that's the biggest challenge of cybersecurity as we see it today. It's about operationalizing security across multiple attack vectors in one place, and getting all the data to actually work together, to actually see what detection is coming after. For example, account compromise is one of the most critical, threats happening, like evolving, like I think like more than 60-70% of threats today are starting with some kind of account compromise. But it's not just starting with account compromise, it's starting with the phishing email. The credentials were leaked in the wild somewhere, like few weeks ago, and then something happened on the cloud environment, like directory environment, forwarding rules, geolocation detection, and then something is deployed on the device. All this stuff, they are all signals that are coming in siloed approach. And that's the challenge of cybersecurity today.
Hmm.
If you are, as an MSP, if you are able to actually connect those dots and build triage across all of those dots, you are in a good shape. If you are not able, if you are going from this conversation, if you listen to this conversation and you think about, I have the best email security that I believe in, I have the best EDR that I believe in, I have Microsoft 365 configured properly, I have my awareness training, I have my data protection, I have everything in place. If you think about that and you don't know how you connect the dots between those signals, you are lost in the wild.
Hmm. You're not making me feel better about the outlook here. I think this is the inherent challenges. Um, is there maybe like to speak to that a little bit, the pressure of how much threat landscapes are, you know, pushing down on the average business. Are you seeing businesses just crack, or even MSPs just simply be like, this is just, we can't even keep up? Because I think there's a maturity level question there, or maybe just a size and operational maturity capability question there of like, the maturity model of cybersecurity, guys like Wes Spencer at Empath has talked about this. If you're a 3-person, 5-person shop, there's there's only so much you can do, and so you're kind of relying obviously on your vendor network to do a lot of the heavy lifting, but still like the pressure of the threats might crack you from a just personality and psychological profile. And I'm curious, what you're seeing out there in the wild.
Yeah, I think that it's about talent. If you have the right talent, most cases, there is a shortage of talent. We talked about it, we touched on that, shortage of cybersecurity talent worldwide. But if you have the right talent and you have the right data lake and right knowledge, you can do it. If you are just a 1, 2, 3 shop operations, I think that you should partner with a vendor like Guardz or whatever in the market, whatever exists in the market. There are a few vendors that are doing amazing job in this area, and just partner with them to streamline and to operationalize security for your clients. Don't try to do it yourself. Try to save cost. Try to get all those point solutions. Try to do it like,
Yeah.
kind of, stitch things together. I don't think that it's we are in this time of the cybersecurity that is cutting it anymore. I think it was good maybe, like 5, 10 years ago that, if you had like few point solutions and you try to stitch them together and try to do good operations, maybe it worked. We are not in this time anymore.
Maybe to that point, help me understand a bit of where Guards is having an impact on MSPs on specifically that operationalizing piece. Because, one thing is the product that you offer, but I think most vendors in the MSP industry lean into the education piece quite heavily. They're helping MSPs evolve and transform to be that next stage of operator, so to speak. And I'm curious, what type of things you guys think about in terms of helping MSPs truly operationalize.
So this is a great question. So first of all, when we started Guards, we didn't start with cybersecurity. We start with MSP first in mind, and we've built everything around what the experience for MSPs, how we empower MSPs, what kind of things what kind of tools we need to put into the platform, into the Guards platform, to help MSPs streamline their security operations. So obviously, the backbone is about connecting the dots around identities, emails, devices, blah blah blah. But it's more about how you as an MSP can actually show the value, prove the value, in a click of a button can generate like a business review report around all of your cybersecurity posture, detection, and response. In a click of a button, you can go to a new client and show you a nice prospecting report about his exposure, from a threat perspective. In a click of a button, you can actually brand all of the stuff. So we have built a lot of this kind of, like tools to, like we call it like the growth hub, that one thing. And from the educational piece, we've built a community package that is free for all the MSPs. Any MSP in the world can actually go to Guards and subscribe for the community package. And in this community package, first of all, we are protecting MSPs for free, just leveraging the Guards community package. But not only that, we are also doing like weekly trainings, monthly, like around security, around business operations, around how to sell cybersecurity, how to deploy cybersecurity. And in general, it's about, sharing the knowledge that we have with this community. So this is something that we really believe in, and it's free of charge, so we are not charging for it. We are just here to help.
That's awesome. I'm glad you're doing that, and I think I see that trend with more and more vendors protecting the MSPs themselves, obviously. So it's an important part, I think, of building that community and the information sharing and so on. So that's great. Now, I've maybe to bring this conversation to a bit of a closure. I've heard you say in maybe one of your Forbes articles, you write for the Forbes Technology Council, and there's some interesting articles there. But I think you've said you wanted to be the Palo Alto of cybersecurity for SMBs. So it's an interesting vision. I'm curious, what about that specific statement is kind of driving a bit of your vision, if you will.
Hmm. It's like I'm coming, by the way, from a personal a story to this industry. About 3.5 years ago, my father is running a very small business. Like a law firm. For 35 years. With 5 employees, and his business was breached like about 3.5 years ago, and that was the foundation of starting out. I came to the business. I was not thinking about like our five employee business. Is under attack. I didn't think about it back in the days, and that was drive. That was the fuel that started Guards, and that is the mission. We want to protect millions of small businesses, and obviously to partner with the MSPs because we believe that the MSP is the best way to deliver these services for small businesses. So we don't want to change something in the supply chain. We want to empower MSP to do their security operation in a better way, and that's why we've built this unified security platform. And we believe that in this moment in time, obviously AI is the intersection of small business, cybersecurity, and how you can actually streamline and provide these security operations in a better way. So we are very excited to be in this forefront of empowering MSPs around this unified approach. And Palo Alto is doing an amazing job going after the enterprise in a consolidation approach. We believe that you need to focus, you need the right foundations to go after small businesses from all different perspectives: technology, cost, operations, automations, and stuff like that. So we are there, we are here, and we are here for the long run.
Yeah, do you think there's to that enterprise versus SMB? I feel like MSPs are interesting in that sense that they tend to want to shop in the enterprise marketplace. They want the big fancy tools, but maybe they're just not adequate for the average small business, and maybe this is actually creating a bit of a challenge in that they just can't deploy properly. They're not suited for the small business. The cost profile is obviously not ideal. And so, how much do you come across competing with big tools in the MSP ecosystem specifically?
We are competing with big tools just as a point solutions. I think that as a point solution, there are still enterprise, like products that build for the enterprise that are trying to go down market. But I don't think this is the right approach for MSPs, to work with point solutions. We talk about it a lot in the last 30, 40 minutes, but the future of cybersecurity, it's not just about the tools. It's about how you connect together. It's about how you
Yeah.
streamline your operations, and it's about the cost efficient of your business all in all.
Wow. Okay. Lots to take in there. I'm gonna when I'm sitting down to write the summary of this, I think there's so many little nuances that I'll try to capture that are good starting points for MSPs. But in your mind, maybe as a parting gift, what is the next thing an MSP that is really not feeling proactive in their approach to cybersecurity? What is the very next thing they should be thinking about? And consider the average MSP is about 8 to 10 people, right? Not these big 100-person operators necessarily.
I think that knowledge sharing within the MSP, making sure that all of your technicians, like tier one, tier two, tier three, whatever the structure, they all know the same things and they all can operate on the same level around cybersecurity. If you have like this fragmentation of knowledge, you are missing a lot of your resources, a lot of your power, and that's something that I think should change in the industry in general. And tools can help, and product can help you get better. And obviously, AI can put some more fuel into the knowledge and capabilities.
Yeah, awesome advice. Thank you so much, Dor. It's been awesome to have you on the live stream for this chat. I hope folks attending got some good info, some good insights. So thanks for coming on. Folks, we're here every Friday at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. It's about beer o'clock in Miami, I think now, Dor, for you. So I'm going to let you go hang out backstage for 2 minutes, and I'll be right with you. Everybody else, thanks for attending. You can find all our previous conversations and live streams on the SkillPad YouTube channel. At Go SkillPad is our handle there. Or on LinkedIn, and feel free to connect if you'd like to maybe come on the live stream and have something something to tell the community or talk about with the community. So thanks everybody for joining. We'll see you at the next one. Ciao.
Thank you.